Hello, I'm Audra from Chic to Shore, and this is just a quick video for those of you who have already done the sheep workshop, just so that you've got something as a reminder. I'm going to zip through things pretty quickly, not do the whole sheep. I've got some prepared, so hopefully this will be of use to you. Any questions, message me through my website or Instagram or Facebook. Okay, here we go. So I've got my 10 grams of Corriedale. We'll take that out of the bag and we're going to pop that in about half, and remembering we pull it apart about here. Okay, with this I've got my trusty little paintbrush and we're going to wrap that around. Now this Corriedale is fabulous because it's already at a really good width for us to wind it around. Make sure your fibres are nice and straight, and we go round. The tighter you can go at this stage, the less stabbing you're going to have to do. We're then laying it down on the pad, and I'm using the larger of my two needles. So this is a 36, and I'm just stabbing all the way around. I probably should have my finger protectors on here, but to keep things fast, I'm not going to stop and put them on. So I hope you're having a good day, and I hope you're looking forward to making more sheep. Okay, I would probably do that a bit longer normally, but for the sake of the video, because it's just a reminder and I don't want it to be too long, I'm then going to shape the ends. First of all, just straight down, some really deep stabs to fill in that little hole from the paintbrush, and also to solidify that inside, and I'm going to do that on both ends. You can see I've ended up with one end a bit thinner than the other. I could fix that by putting a little bit extra Corriedale around the outside, but for today I'm not going to. Okay, and then I'm going to round off the ends by going round at more of a 45-degree angle in a nice kind of curly way, making sure, of course, that my needle is going in and out at the same thing, and then I'm turning over and doing the same on the other side. Don't you just love that sound of the wool stabbing in? Different wools will felt quicker than others. This is a really good quality Corriedale, so it's a little bit slower than the cheaper Corriedale that I sell. So remember, you can always contact me if you want extra materials and arrange a time that you can come and pick up. So then I'm just going to go round and stab it until I get a nice kind of shape. Next thing we're going to do is the legs. Now, with what I've got left this time, I'm going to pull a piece off. So it's probably just over a third. Nice thickness, and I'm getting it at about the width that I want the legs to be, and I'm going to pull that off all the way down. Back to the trusty toothbrush. Toothbrush. Why do I always say toothbrush? Paintbrush. And this time I'm winding it around, and again nice and tight. You can see how wide that is to my finger. And when I get almost at the thickness I want, I'm going to pull the wool off, keep wrapping that around, and then we're going back down onto here, and we're going to turn it around and stab. I'm being very careful to stab on not to hit the paintbrush, so I'm stabbing down the side. And then what I actually like to do is go back but stab on the other side of the paintbrush. And we're going to do that for a while until we're pretty sure it's nice and solid. at which point we're going to slide that off. I'm going to pick the fluffiest end to attach to the sheep, and this end, using my larger needle, 36, I'm going to stab right down into the middle. I'm gathering up those end bits and sticking them down the middle, and then I'm changing to my smaller needle, which is a 40 that I didn't tell you before, to tidy that end bit up. So I'm sorry it's not any closer. I really need to learn how to do videos, but you know it's not really my thing, and this is really just here as a reminder. And then I'm going to redo down the sides. I'm leaving that one end nice and fluffy because I'm going to attach that. Onto the sheep. So, and again, I've gone around the edges a little bit to smooth them off and then to shape it nice and flat on the end. And there I have my other leg. Now I have cheated a little bit, and I've got my body and I've got 3 legs on him, and so I'm now going to attach this leg onto here. If you end up with a leg that's too big or too small, just make another leg. You should have plenty of wool in your 10 grams to do that. I'm just fluffing out this little bit here, and I'm going to place it on the sheep where I want it to go, and I'm just going to use again my smaller needle to go around the outside. I'm looking at the other legs I've got on and trying to make it, I've put it as far up the body to make it about the same size as the other legs. I'm attaching it on this bit with all the fluffy bit first, and then I'm going to come around on the inside, I don't know if you can see this, and do some stabs diagonally into the inside. Now if you feel that it's not attached very well, remember we can use a little bit extra wool as glue and just pop it around the base here and use that to attach. But remembering also that when we put the coat on our lovely little cute little sheep, it's going to reinforce those legs on it as well. Okay, so we now have our little sheep's body already. Next we want to do our head. So with the wool that we've got left, you'll probably have used some of this for the other legs. We want another bit, but this time it's thicker, and ideally one side of it will be a little bit thicker than the other. And have a look at your sheep and work out about the width that you want the head to be. So I think this needs to be a little bit smaller. And back to the paintbrush, and this time when we wind it around, I'm wanting to get more wool on one side than the other. So I'm manipulating it here to get more wool happening on this side. Again, the tighter you can put it on, the easier it's going to be, right? I think just a little bit more. In fact, that, I'm going to pull a little bit off. That's going to be about right. This is the tricky bit, getting it down and starting the stabbing. I'm using my fine needle here. Now, when I'm doing this stabbing, I'm not doing the end bit here. Yep, I'm just doing the fatter side and probably about 2/3 of it. So I'm leaving a little bit fluffy on this end, the fat end, and on the thinner end, I'm leaving quite a bit fluffy. Okay. And we really want to go around this, and again I'm going back in the opposite direction, stabbing on the other side of the brush, nicely rolling it like this as I go, so that I do it all the way around. Once I'm happy that that is pretty solid and secure, I'm going to take it off, pop my finger protectors back on. I'm going to secure the back bit first, and I'm going to use my bigger needle just to grab some of those down. Now I don't want to, so quite deep stabs here, pushing that extra fluffy wool into the middle. I don't want to lose all this fluff because we are going to be attaching the ears to this side, and if we do it a little bit too much we lose the fluff. We're just looking to secure it. At this point I have a look at the shape, and to me I can see that this is looking like this is going to go down and in and create a nice, and this is going to be the top of the head because there's a bit more of a bulk on the other side. And so now I'm going in at this angle. I'm going to shove this bit in with a few deep stabs to get it rounded off. Can you see how the shape's starting to happen? And then I'm going to keep tidying that up with lots of stabs. Now, because we're going to be putting a face on the sheep, you really need to stab this a lot to get it really firm. Otherwise, when you put the nose and the mouth on, it's going to get all sucked in, well not sucked in, all stabbed in and disappear. So I'd say with the face, when you think you're finished, do some more. So I'm going to stop there, but can you see how I'm getting a nice kind of shape happening here? It's all a bit fluffy down here. I haven't done this. But again, I've got one ready so that I don't have to finish it off. You know that you keep doing it until it's actually firm, pretty firm. But the one I've done before is even nicer and firmer. So I'm going to use that one. Now for the ears, we just need a little bit of, I love using merino for this. You can use the Corriedale, it'll be a little bit easier to felt. But I just have this thing about using the merino because it's so soft. And for those of you who have actually touched a sheep's ears or a lamb's ears, they're really, really soft. So we've got a bit, about fibre length, and we're just going to make a petal at one end. So I folded that end over to create a nice petal shape, making sure that I've got plenty on this end so that when I do another petal at this side, there's a good finger or finger plus width, maybe your thumb width in between the two ears on which to tap it on. I'm going to start by stabbing at the end here. So can you see? I should have got a different colour cotton really, shouldn't I? When it's white, it makes it much harder to see. Well, I'll put that on the to-do list. So I've gone from the middle up. Does that make sense? So, oh dear, there goes my head. I've gone from the end up to the middle, and then I'm going to go around the outside of the ear. Now, don't worry, at this point you really want it to be a little bit bigger. And now I'm stabbing, now that I've got those sides done, I'm stabbing all the way around and getting that wool in. This is also how you do flower petals as well, nice and easy, quick ones. So once I've done some stabbing, I'm going to turn it over, and those lovely bits of wool that are sticking through where you've gone into the mat are going to now felt in and help hold its shape. There we go, look at that. I was doing exactly... Did you see what I was doing? I was holding it with my non-protected finger. How many of you do that? Because I do it so often. A lot of people in my workshops do it as well. It just seems to be a natural thing to do. So now I've got a kind of a sheep's ear shape. So now I'm going to hold that edge tightly. Can you see it's in there? Tightly between my finger and my thumb. And again, using that small needle, the first thing I'm going to do is at the end of the ear here, stab it down till we get, can you see what's happened there? Nice shape. And then the other stabs are going to be, so those first stabs to define the shape of the ear are quite deep, and then the rest of the stabs where we're shaping the ear just are quite narrow. And I'm going to work all the way around the ear here. I have actually just bought and made some Perspex shapers that mean that you don't have to hold it between your fingers and you can actually see the shape. And I'm now thinking I should have used them for this demonstration because then you could have seen it better. So I'm just stabbing in deep here again where it shapes the ear. Okay, you'll have a look at your ear. You can see mine's a little bit lumpy. So I'm going to go back and just very gently, little stabs, just to shape that. This is the point at which you can keep that ear nice and round at the end, or you can even stab it into a little bit of a point if you want a little bit more of a pointy ear. And I'll also, once I'm a bit more happy with the shape, I would probably spend a little bit longer shaping this than I'm going to today because I don't want you sitting through a really long video. So we've got a kind of nice little shape happening here. And remember that if you wanted, you can fold it. So see how I'm folding it at the end here? And then if you lay that on its side and do some stabbing in the side. And can you see what I'm doing there? I really should have got a bit of black. Oh well, this will do for now. I'll do another video some of the time. It's not my thing, but it was a request that I do this, and I had already done it for the other ones. But because the sheep takes such a long time, I was like, I can't do a whole sheep video. And then I've got this nice little bent ear. And then of course I'll do the same on this side, but I won't make you and make another ear on this side. And you'll end up with something like this. Here's one I made earlier. And this, we're looking at our sheep's head, and I'm going to attach them at
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
That was my Alexa heard me. Anyway, I'm going to attach them to the top of the sheep's head. And to do that, I'm just going to fold them over, and I'm going to use my bigger needle to do some nice, deep stabs. This is when you really start to feel it's like a little sheep. So these are nice deep stabs to attach the ears to the head. Let's have a look. Let's see what he's looking like. And this is the point where the character, look! This is where the character starts to come in. Sometimes I'll redo the ears and make them stick up or stick down or stick out. But I don't know if you agree with me, but he's looking really cute just like that. So I'm going to leave him just like that. Gorgeous. Okay, this is where we get a bit of our leftover wool that you should have from your thing. And I'm going to just wind a bit around. Oh, I should show you how much I've got. Yeah, that's about just more than my hand. And I'm going to wind that around my finger. And this is going to give me a neck. Now, remember, you can always add more wool on. It's much more difficult to take it off. So you're better off with a smaller one than big. First thing I'm going to do is attach it to my sheep. I find it easier if I splay his front paws down. Oh, and decide which is the front of your sheep as well first. And then I'm just going to attach this right at the very front. So can you see? I've attached it right at the very front. It looks ginormous at the moment, but can you see how that squishes down? Not too much. So it's right at the front here, and then I'm stabbing it in all the way around the outside there. I only do a couple of stabs in the middle, that's all. And then the tricky bit, we put the head upside down on the mat. Actually, I wonder if I do this, if you might be able to see it a little bit better. So what I'm doing now is putting that bit onto here. Okay. And I'm now attaching the neck. Oh, I've picked up a bit of fluff, another colour, not that that matters too much. And I'm attaching that neck all the way around my little sheep, having him face down on the mat. Poor little thing. You're okay. He's okay. Oh, and they just tend to tell you how they want to be at this point. So I can see his head is kind of going up and over to one side, and I quite like it like that. But we can shape it a little bit more later. So here we have our little nude sheep. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to put one coat on. And if you've attended the workshops, you should remember, hopefully, how to put the other ones on. But they're all pretty similar. I guess it's only if you're using real wool, as in spun wool, like a ball of wool, that it's going to be different, because you're going to kind of loop that and stab, loop, stab, loop, stab to get it on. This is one of my favorites. This is called cloud wool. It's used in predominantly as pure wool pillow stuffing. Very expensive, by the way. And I'm just using my 40 needle for this. And I'm just stabbing this in randomly. If you want to get a nicer shape around it, you can actually go around. Ouch! Oh, there we go. You could actually go around each ball. That's why you wear your finger protectors. Gosh, I'm daft. Alrighty. I don't want to show you me just stabbing around and putting the wool on. If you want to do a little tail, we're just looking at, oh, I'm actually even bleeding. That's very rare. Don't get any blood on the... I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going and hopefully just keep my thumb out of the way. If you want to make a little tail, you can quickly use your... Probably need a little bit more than that. That's thrown me a little bit, you can tell, can't you? But you know, it's like I used to be really particular, so I only want to, for the tail, very small bit. Can you see how thin that is around the brush? This is where it gets a bit harder to stab on the brush, but we're just wanting to hold it for the moment. I just find the brush helps get a nice even shape, whereas if I was just rolling that on my fingers, it would take me a lot longer. Yeah, so nice and thin. I'm just going to stab that. Really miss my cotton cloth on the bottom. And then holding it together, I'm going to push these loose fibres up and in, leaving the other end nice and fluffy to attach to the sheep. Now you can just leave this bald if you like. So if I was doing, you know, pink or green curls on the sheep, I might just leave it blank. Look! But because I'm using this cloud wool, I'll just get a couple of bobbles of the cloud wool. This is probably very difficult to see, but I hope that my talking is helping. And I'll cover this in some little bubbles. Oops. And I was doing it again. I'm such a bad role model. Do what I say, not what I do. There we go. So it's getting just a little bit bumpier, and then we would attach this. Oh, you're so cute! Onto the sheep. I generally pop it on just before I get to the point where... So I'm just tidying up the tail here because I did it quite quickly and those bubbles were sticking out a bit much for my liking. And then we've got a little tail on my sheep. He's just looking so gorgeous. Okay, so the face. So you should have got a little bag with some colours in. I normally use the pink and grey because they're just so cute. The pink is just for the nose. Sometimes I'll use it in the eyes as well. And we just need a slither, teeny sliver. Just going to roll that between our fingers to make a little line. Pull off the ends if you've got a nice clean end. And this, to make the face, we're just going to wrap around the bottom. So we're taking up about half of his face. And this time using the bigger needle, we're going to push that in. And ideally, the fibres will all go down into that hole. Can you see how they're just disappearing down into that hole? And please try, I've got to collect a couple there, please try and get those fibres just in that one hole. And then I go around to the other side and fix the rest of them in at that side, and then I'm going to go around with my smaller needle, my 40, to get a nice little, can you see that? It's a bit bright, isn't it? There we go. Smile happening on there. The next thing we want to do is with another little thin sliver, but a shorter, slightly shorter one this time. Again, rolling between the fingers. That might be a little bit thin, but I'm going to go with it. And this time I'm going to put it right on the end of his nose. So, right on the tip. And this time I'm going to start in the middle rather than at the end. I don't know if you can see this. And I'm just using my small needle this time. That's a bit trickier. And this is going to be the V. So I'm securing it at the base. And then I'm going to secure it at the top of one side of the V. And I just love how the fibres disappear. And now that I've said that, this one's probably not going to do it, especially not when I'm doing it at this angle. So we pop those down and in, and we've got a nice little whoop. Can you see V on there? Maybe not as tight as like. Now I've got a little bit of leftover here. Another little thin bit. And this bit I'm going to attach from the V to the middle of the mouth. So I'm going to try and stab that directly into the hole at the base of the V, and then take it down to the mouth. So this is what we've got now, yep. Okay. Then I like to put the little bit of pink in, and we just need teeny weeny beeny bit, tiny bit of fluff, and this I roll in the palm of my hand to get a little ball. Now sometimes when you do this, if the fibres are all going in the same direction, it can clunk up. So what you might want to do with your little bit of fluff is fluff it out a little bit before you roll it into a ball, and then you're more likely to get a nice even ball. Both of mine are actually okay. Can you see that? So I'm going to pick this one and put it in the middle bit where the nose, I want it to go. I secure it at the bottom of the V, but I'm doing it just inside the grey. And again with my fine needle, or the number 40, the small needle, and I'm just securing that. I'm just stabbing, can you see? Just into the edge, so above where the grey is. And I like with the pink just to go, the nose, just to go around. I still prefer to do it when it's touching the ground. The outside, and then I also do across the top bit here as well. I like to leave it where the nose sticks out a little bit. Can you see there? Alrighty, and then for the eye, and you'll do two eyes, I just use a little bit of the grey. I often, because I'm doing two, I'll get a piece and split it in half, so I know I've got about the right amount. Same thing, can fluff it up a little bit. And I'm going to roll that in the palm of my hand. Do the two of them straight away. And I'm going to place that eye on. It goes about here, okay? So you're just above the mouth and back a little bit. And I'm going to stab that in the middle a few times to secure it. And then I'm going to go around the outside. And this is how you can control how big it is. There we go. And I'll do the same on the other side. Just make sure that you check that you look at him from this angle to see how you go. I'm going to stop there because I have gone over 30 minutes. I was hoping to keep it under 30 minutes. I hope, oh gosh, look at that. I hope that's of use to you. Message me, etc. Yeah, I hope to see you again as well. Bye. Bye from me, Audra at Sheep to Shore. Keep in touch.